Hello and welcome to another UKGN Network podcast. I'm Zoidberg. This week we have a question for you. When someone asks you to name a long-running franchise, what's the first game that comes to mind? Maybe you think Tomb Raider, which has so far racked up 18 titles. Or maybe you suggest Super Mario, which is up to somewhere in the 20s, depending on which spin-offs you count. Then there's either Madden or FIFA, which have had new games every year since the early 90s. Yet none of these can come close to Dragon Ball Z, which, not counting arcade and mobile releases, has produced an astonishing 74 games of different quality across various formats, and the latest, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, arrived this week. The latest game to follow the exploits of Goku the Super Saiyan comes from developer CyberConnect, who, apart from a long history of making games based on various manga, were also responsible for two of our lesser known favourites, Silent Bomber on PS1 and Asura's Wrath. It absolutely does the license justice, and features an airborne battle style that brought back memories of Zone of the Enders, although with a little bit more variety. It also doesn't require a huge amount of prior knowledge, seemingly telling the story from the very beginning. It's also not quite as good as 2018's Dragon Ball FighterZ, but it's a solid, well-made and enjoyable entry in the series. With so many games in this and other manga series, you could be forgiven for feeling a bit fatigued with them, and there's naturally going to be a bit of variation in quality from one game to the next. We still have vivid memories of playing the terrible Akira game on the Amiga CD32, but equally there have been games that have inspired us to go and seek out the original. Here's our 5 favourite games based on popular manga series. UN Squadron, 1989. Capcom's UN Squadron went by the name Area 88 in Japan, which is actually the title of the little-known manga series that the game is based on. It ran from 1979 to 1986, and is about a team of mercenary pilots, with each issue constituting a different mission. The game sees you out to thwart a terrorist group known as Project 4, and you can choose from one of 3 pilots to control. The good news is even if you didn't know about the source material, you're still left with a really good side-scrolling shooter with great graphics and music. Both the arcade and SNES versions are equally brilliant, but the console version added a mission map allowing you to play the levels in any order, more aircraft that can be purchased from the shop screen, and extra bonus levels. Ghost in the Shell, 1998. With its strong female lead, Ghost in the Shell could easily have been just another lazy Tomb Raider clone, but developer Exact, makers of Jumping Flash, decided to go another way entirely, and kudos to them for doing so. You are put in the controls of a spider tank as you battle through the game's 12 levels. It's an enjoyable, fast action shooter with good controls and a nice variety of mission locations. What lets it down slightly are the tough end of level bosses and the lack of checkpoints, meaning you have to replay entire levels every time you fail. Level leaderboards encouraged you to keep playing even once you'd finished the story, in order to try and better your performance. There was also a PS2 game in 2004 based on the standalone Complex TV series, but it was nowhere near as good as this one. Naruto: Rise of a Ninja, 2007. Just like Dragon Ball, there has been a huge number of games based on the Naruto manga series, made by lots of different developers. However, if you didn't know already, there's no way in a million years you'd guess that the best one came from Ubisoft Montreal, the makers of Assassin's Creed. Released exclusively for the Xbox 360, this had no Japanese language option unless you downloaded a free add-on, and that's sadly no longer available if you play it today. Aside from that though, the presentation was spot on, with instantly recognisable locations and characters dotted around the game's open world. It provided many hours of gameplay as it tells the story of the first 80 episodes of the series, as well as offering many side quests. It was followed up by an equally great sequel, Naruto: The Broken Bond, a year later. Dynasty Warriors Gundam, 2007. Omega Force have adapted their Warriors formula to many guises over the years, but the warring robots of Mobile Suit Gundam were perhaps the best fit of all. With 2 modes of play available, official and original, you can slice and shoot your way through massive levels based on familiar locations from the series. Learning the different moves and combos of each available mobile suit keeps you coming back for more, and the levels set in space offered up something that you wouldn't see in any other Warriors title. Compared to other Gundam games, it also features much faster gameplay and is easier to pick up and play, making it a simple recommendation for newcomers. The 2 sequels made slight tweaks to the gameplay, but they remained largely the same as this one. Fist of the North Star: Lost Paradise, 2018. There have been a few decent games based on the Fist of the North Star series, including a one-on-one beat-em-up in the arcades by Arc System Works, and its own Dynasty Warriors spin-off called Ken's Rage, but by far the best is Lost Paradise from Sega. Coming from the same studio as the Yakuza series, this is the same style of open-world adventure you'd expect, giving you the whole city of Eden to explore, interspersed with some glorious gory combat. The original Manga was known for its wanton bloodshed, and seeing street thugs explode after you perform another new technique on them never gets boring. The main plot is a good one too, as Kenshiro searches for the fiancée he assumed was dead, and the rogues gallery of characters that you meet keep you playing. We'd recommend this game to anyone, even if you'd never seen the original anime. Now it's time to talk about the new games we've been playing with this week's reviews. Yet another online battle royale slid onto Xbox One in the shape of Cuisine Royale, and it's another example of why you should never judge a game without playing it first. Everything about this game reeks of a blatant PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds rip-off, with added silliness. That's actually what makes it quite entertaining. It follows the battle royale template to the letter, dumping you into a map in nothing but your underwear and forcing you to scavenge for equipment. Any game that allows players to pick up and wear kitchen utensils about their person to use as body armour is clearly not taking itself very seriously, and you can't help but chuckle as you play. With a decent sized map, surprisingly good gunplay and short waiting times between matches, there's a lot here to enjoy in limited doses. We doubt we'll still be playing it months or even weeks from now, but it's a shot in the arm for po-faced shooters that take themselves way too seriously. Let's get right to the point. Off-road racing from Artifact Studio is easily the worst game I've played in 43 weeks of doing this podcast. The visuals may use Unreal, but they're an example of how a good engine means nothing without a decent artistic vision. It's all extremely bland to look at, with menus that are merely functional, and tracks coloured in various shades of brown. The track design is awful, making it hard to know where you're meant to be going at times, and the handling isn't much better. What's even worse though is that we've actually played all this before under a different name. ATV Drift and Tricks itself was pretty forgettable when it was released in late 2017, and all the developer and publisher have done is add buggies and bikes and repackage it under a different name. Anyone who falls for this ruse has our deepest sympathies and should be entitled to a refund as far as we're concerned. Now to finish the show with another of our looks back at the games that were released exactly 10 years ago. Dark Void was a co-production from Capcom and Airtight Games, and it arrived on January 22nd, 2010. It had a nice retro-futuristic tone, inspired by old black and white serials, where even though it was set in the 1930s, you found yourself battling aliens, donning jetpacks and wielding futuristic weaponry. Nolan North continued his quest to corner the market in generic American heroes by providing the voice of Will Gray, the game's central character who ended up being almost as dull as his name. And the gameplay was solid without ever reaching its full potential. The idea of a cover shooter where you could traverse vertical sections as well was a good one, and there are moments when it truly clicked, but the game was held back by technical issues and a campaign that ended way too soon. You can watch 20 minutes of gameplay from Dark Void on our channel now, just click the link under the video. That brings us to the end of another podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Give us a like and subscribe if you like what we do and want to see more. What games have you enjoyed that were based on manga? Let us know in the comments. We'll be back next week with another show just like this one, where we'll be taking a look at Journey to the Savage Planet, along with any other new games that cross our path. Make sure you follow us on social media at UK Gaming Network to see what we're playing and talking about. Until next time, thanks for listening. See you soon.